Microjig, maker of the gripper. Work safer, work smarter.
Today I thought I'd give you guys a quick tour of my wood shop. I always think it's pretty cool to see how other woodworkers have their shops arranged, so that's what I plan on doing today. But before I do that, I thought I'd tell you guys a little bit about myself. I started woodworking in 2004, and a couple years after that, in 2006, I set up the GarageWoodworks.com website. And in 2009, I released my first video. And my background is in chemistry, where I have a PhD in medicinal chemistry, which is the study of drug design. Woodworking always starts with lumber, and because of that I thought it was appropriate to start this tour with how I store my lumber. And to my left side is how I store my cutoffs. And I'm not exactly crazy about how I store my cutoffs, but this is what it is. Just the cutoffs are stored in bins, and when I need a small piece I'll just pick through. On the right side of the shop is my lumber storage rack, and it's made from 2x4s and plywood, and it's bolted to wall studs using lag bolts. So as we move past the lumber rack and move deeper into the shop, we come to my 6-inch joiner. You guys have seen me use this tool a bunch of times for both edge joining boards and face joining boards. It's only 6 inches wide, but that's never stopped me from face joining a board that's been wider than 6 inches. I'll just overhang the face of the joiner and then use a hand plane to reference off of the face jointed portion to bring the whole board nice and flat. For dust collection, I use a dedicated shop vac which pulls all the dust into this bucket using one of these mini cyclones, and it works great, no complaints. The joiner uses straight knives, and I'll probably never upgrade to a helical cutter head because I really like the ease of sharpening these knives. At the center of my shop is my 3 horsepower table saw, which has a 50-inch rip fence, and this has really been a great saw. It's not my first table saw. My first table saw was a much cheaper contractor's grade table saw. So this is kind of an upgrade. To the left side of my shop is my bandsaw, which has a 2 horsepower motor and a full 12 inches of resaw capacity. And this has been a really great tool. The only complaint I would have with this tool has been the fence. It's really kind of a weak fence that came with the bandsaw, and it's probably something that I'll upgrade in the near future, either by purchasing something or making something myself. Unfortunately, I don't have this saw hooked up to any dust collection, so I just kind of clean up as I go, and it's really not been a big deal. I make my own zero clearance inserts for this saw, and I think I'm on my second one for this saw, and I also think I have a video on this if you're interested. As you move further into the shop past the bandsaw, you come to my planer, another workhorse in the shop. But out of all my power tools that I've purchased, this is probably the one that I regret buying the most, just because they've made it kind of difficult to sharpen the knives the way they designed the cutter head. And if you're really interested, you can click on this link down here and you can read all about it. Just behind my bandsaw is my clamp rack, and I also have a build video on this if you're interested in making your own. And you can also download the Google SketchUp model if you'd like that also to help you build it. And on top of that, I have plenty of storage, and I store my drivers, and I also store my Microjig grippers up here and all the accessories. So this has been working out really great. My router table I made by myself from 2 pieces of MDF that I glued together, and it's on the extension wing of my original contractor saw that I told you guys about earlier, and it's been working out really well. What's unique about this router table is that it has a fence that is adjustable, so you can undo these lock nuts, and you can either tilt the fence forward or you can tilt it back. And this comes in really handy. And if you'd like to make your own, I have plans available, and I also have a build video. If you ever make your own router table, be sure to install one of these knee kick power off switches. It enables you to turn your router off without taking your hands off of your workpiece. So just like my bandsaw, there's no dust collection with this router table, so I just kind of have to clean up as I go. One of the things I don't like about it. 2 more uses that I have for my old contractor's table saw is that it's a great place to store my slicer that I use for cutting sandpaper. And I also keep a sanding disc permanently installed, and this comes in really handy. Now another tool that you guys have seen me use a lot is my horizontal mortiser. Now this tool used to live on my old contractor's table saw on the left extension wing, but I went ahead and made a dedicated base for it, and now it sits to the right of the table saw, and I think this is a great spot for it. Before I show you guys the back of the shop, I want to talk about this table that I made as an outfeed table for my table saw. Now, other than an outfeed table for the table saw, it's also an outfeed table for my planer, and it's also a great region to set up for pieces that are going to be routed at the router table. And it's also an excellent work surface. The back bench, which is made from MDF and stud grade 2x4, houses my grinder, and it also supports my sander, which switches to a oscillating spindle sander. This is a really great tool. And it also houses my chop saw and my drill press. One thing I don't like about where I have my chop saw is that if I'm cutting a really long board, that stuff all the way down at the other end of the bench will get in the way. So I might eventually make a dedicated stand for my chop saw. Towards the back of the bench, I have my Lee dovetail jig, and actually I don't use this a whole lot, but when you do need it, it does come in handy. I think I'm going to start switching to hand cut dovetails, but I haven't started to learn how to do it yet. So behind me is my pegboard, and honestly, without this pegboard, my shop would be a complete disaster. It holds everything from screwdrivers to wrenches to chisels to my wooden mallet. Underneath my bench, I have a shelf, which is admittedly a complete disaster. I really need to do something to organize this a little better. It holds a lot of my jigs that I use for sharpening, and I have some dies under here, and a lot of odds and ends. I have some pumice under here. And on the moving further down underneath over here is where I store a lot of my finishes. I have polyurethane and tung oil and linseed oil in this general region over here. So I think I'll end this tour in front of my router bit storage system. And if you remember, I made a video on this not too long ago. And if you'd like to make your own, you can download the SketchUp file for free. So I really do hope you guys like this tour, and I hope it gave you some ideas for your own shop. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, guys.